Welcome into Boxing Scene Today here at the Pro Box TV studios. Well, at 147, what do we have? A potential star in Brian Norman Jr. knocking out Jin Sasaki in round number 5. Where does that leave us? Well, Boots Ennis is leaving the welterweight division, confirmed it on his Instagram. He is moving up to 154 pounds, looking for big paydays, big fights. But does he have the physicality and the technique to be competitive in what might be boxing's deepest division? To help me break it down, the champ, Chris Algeria, he and I having the discussion. Okay, where do we start, in a sense, where the motivation to leave, obviously, big fights at 154. We talk about 47, it's storied, it's historic, but right now, kind of a wasteland. Him moving up, looking for the big fights. How soon does he get them? That's my first question. Does he jump out looking for a title?
That's really the question. But even before that, I want to kind of talk about just the fact that he's moving up. I'm torn because I wanted him to go and unify the division. I wanted that. I saw that, obviously the talent's there. He beat the consummate number 2 guy in the division at the time, which is Stanionis. He destroys him, so it looks like, oh man, that's the guy. And he had the ability, I thought, to go on and be able to collect those belts. But I've heard reports that the weight has been a real issue and that he's actually a different fighter when he's in the gym, because he's not killing himself to make that weight. Prentice Brewer, who's one of the best young trainers in the world today, told me, he's like, Chris, you would not believe what this guy looks like when he's not killing himself to get down to 147. He's like, you've barely seen 70% of what Jaron Ennis can really do in that ring. And that's scary because I see the talent. I see how good this young man is, and I can't wait to see him rain on. So, yeah, I want him to fight at 47, but also I want to see the best version of Boots Ennis. If that's only 70%, what's 100 look like? What's 90 look? I want to see what this guy can do. So now I'm kind of thinking, I'm moving up to 54. I'm happy with it because now we also have Brian Norman, who's actually showing himself to be a kind of guy who could be undisputed at 47. Jaron goes up to 54. There's a lot of big fights there. He's going to be a better version of himself. And how fast does he get into one of those big fights? Yes. I mean, dude, he's that guy now. He's a boogeyman moving into the division. Yes, the weight class is full of boogeymen. No one has the profile that Jaron Ennis can bring to that division. That's what that division needs. It needs an injection of life. It needs profile. It needs someone to be able to drag eyes and attention to it. You've got guys that are excellent and dangerous, but people don't really know them on this side of the world. Everyone knows who Jaron Ennis is here. Jaron Ennis sells tickets. So you got a ticket seller who's going to be able to get these big fights with these big name guys. So I do believe he could step into a title fight sooner than later because of his profile.
Is that where you take him right off the bat? Do you maybe do you whet the appetite with maybe I don't want to say tune-up, a tough fight at 54, but something to see how he is at 54?
I think I should put a couple fights, actually, not even just one. When you have a ticket seller like a Jaron Ennis, a lot of times promoters will try and build that around. We need stars in the sport. We're severely lacking that here in the States. He's a guy who actually sells tickets. There's not many of them left these days. So you got a guy like that. So promoters probably going to try to hold on to that the best they can, keep that and then work towards one of those title fights. But in terms of what Jaron Ennis wants to do, that's another question. If their team is pushing for the big fights, which we've seen some of these young fighters do. Xander Zayas is a guy who's in that division. He's pushing for big fights. He didn't want to be built anymore. He's like, I want these guys now. Whether his promotion or the people around him think that's a bright idea or not, him and his team do. So, they're getting a title fight in their next fight. So he's a potential world champion very, very soon. So there are a lot of good opportunities for Jaron Ennis there. He is in the driver's seat, I believe, because of his profile. Man, ticket sellers, you can call the shots. Because again, there's not a lot of them left.
What I'm curious about is moving up from 47 to 54. We see it all the time where a power puncher at a certain weight class moves up. Not a power puncher anymore. Those guys can take a shot. They can give one. You yourself talked about when you went from 40 to 47. You're like, man, these are big boys. It's a different animal. Does Boots Ennis, as talented as he is and as big as he is, have to change a whole lot to be successful at 54?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the difference between 47 and 54 is 7 pounds, which is a big jump in our sport. But also, it's a different glove. It's a 10-ounce glove, not an 8-ounce glove. It's going to change the way that he's cracking people. I think about Teofimo Lopez at 35, who is icing people, right? He goes up to 40, hits them with the same shots. They barely blink and they walk right through it. He gets them later, whatever, but he doesn't have that many knockouts at 40 anymore. So that's 5 pounds. 5 pounds make a big difference when it comes to punching power. Now you add in the 7 pounds, and you add in a new glove, and you're adding in bigger guys. So there's a lot of factors that are going to affect the way that Jaron Ennis is able to perform, and I think he's going to have to dig deep into that skill bag, that boxing IQ bag that pretty sure he has, and I've always wanted to see it. He's not just going to be able to walk through guys like he was at 47. 47, a lot of boxing purists like me were like, why is this guy getting hit by this? Why is he getting hit with that? Probably didn't bother him. It didn't care. He's going to walk through these shots. I'm going to beat you up. I'm going to get you out of there. So now at 54, he's not going to be able to do that. We're going to have to see how skilled he really is and how disciplined he can be in a 12-round fight, where he's going to have to utilize that skill, that talent, that IQ for more rounds. Because I think at 54, he's not going to be able to go out there and just blast guys out like he was at 47.
One of the questions, and it's a term I absolutely hate. You were a wrestler, Chris. You know all about it. Weight bully.
Yeah.
I hate that expression, because if you can make the weight, you can make the weight, right? But it does give you an idea of the psychology of certain guys who need to be the bigger guy. They're always going to push the cut. They're always going to do these things. The best example, probably in boxing in our era, I was young, but Lennox Lewis was a different guy when he was looking at a guy who was his height, right?
Michael Grant.
When he looked at guys who were his size, you saw a different Lennox Lewis, because he couldn't necessarily keep away with the jab. He was a different guy when he wasn't the big man.
Yep.
Is there a little bit of that? Are you wondering about that with Boots Ennis? He's always been the big guy at 47. 54, Sebastian Fundora is what, 6'10", right? This idea that he's not going to be the big man. How does that affect you physically, psychologically?
Yeah, Shannon Briggs, Vitaly Klitschko, those other guys that looked
fight as well against those guys.
He had to fight differently, and it seemed like he fought a lot more stressed, right? He had because there was more contact, and I think that's going to happen here as well. Maybe not so much that it's going to be more contact, because at his best, Jaron, even when he was weight trained, he throws a lot of punches. He's in front of you. He doesn't like to move a whole lot. He likes to engage. He likes to fight on the inside, even when it's not really the best for him, like in the Chikatsian fight. But that's where he likes to be. I think a lot of it is going to come down to his gas tank, his endurance, his ability to throw in combination, because there's not a lot of guys who really throw in combination these days. Jaron does, and he can hit you on the way in. He can hit you on the way out. He's going to have to work harder at 54 for sure. But I think stylistically for him, that's going to be an advantage. He's used to fighting smaller guys, faster guys, and keeping up with them for punch output. So I think that's really going to help against 54-pounders, where the guys are a little bigger. They're gonna hold on to their punches more. They're not gonna throw as many combinations. They're gonna look to land good power shots. And I think Jaron has enough of that reactivity and slip and slide and catch and shoot that those bigger, slower punchers, he's gonna be able to take advantage of.
End of the year is what it looks like he is looking for his 154-pound debut. One of the things that guys who move up in weight class successfully do is they take the time to fill out. And you know, as a trainer and as a nutritionist, there's big, and then there's lean muscle big. And that can take a little while to get. Is end of the year enough time for him, you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think he's a guy who lives in the gym. He's a consummate professional. He's going to stay in there. He's going to train. Even when I fought Pacquiao, I had to go up and wait for that fight. And I remember I put a lot of work into gaining good lean tissue, because you don't want to just like, all right, I'm just not going to cut less weight.
Not how it works.
I need to be stronger. I need to be bigger. This guy can really punch. So you got to prepare for it properly. And so I think Jaron and his team are gonna do that. But also I think the fact that he's not going to have to whittle himself down. He's not going to be in such a hypocaloric state for so long while training hard. That muscle is going to grow naturally. He's not underfeeding himself, so that muscle is just going to pack on, because that's where his body wants to be. It's what his body wants to do. So I don't think it's going to take all that long for him.
When you look at it, I'm right now looking at Boxing Scene's rankings and champions. Right now, it is IBF, Bakram Murtazaliev, WBA, Terrence Crawford, of course. Looks like he's given time, moving up, doesn't really count.
Yep.
Yuenis Teles, Jermell Charlo, that's WBA. WBC is Sebastian Fundora. Virgil Ortiz Jr. is the interim. WBO is vacant as Terrence Crawford has moved up. When you look at those names, who lines up with Jaron Ennis? Where do you think he eventually goes when it comes time for that title shot? Who does he fit with? Fundora doesn't really fit with anybody just because of his size, but who do you think lines up? Right
off the bat, I'm going to take Crawford and Charlo out of that. Because Crawford, he's going to fight Canelo. He might fight Canelo twice. I don't think we're ever going to see him fight anyone else ever again. I definitely don't think we're going to see him back down at 54 after moving all the way up to 68 to fight Canelo. And Charlo, until I see him fight at 54, I can't put him in the rankings. because it's been so long since he's been in the ring, and so long since he fought at 54. Another one who fought, Canelo, moved up 2 weight classes to do that. But in terms of those other guys, I mean, Fundora is always fun. I like Fundora with everybody. He's a fun fighter. Even at 6'6", he likes to fight on the inside. He throws a lot of punches. Got heavy hands. He gets hit. Always a fun guy. That WBO belt, I believe, is going to be fought by Xander Zayas soon. Yep. So he's another guy who's in the mix. I could definitely see a Jaron Ennis Xander Zayas fight in the future, and probably pretty soon. Murtaza Aliyev, man, that's the dark horse of the division. That's the guy you're like, this is a tough night. If I'm Jaron Ennis, I go right after him. I'm the baddest man in the world. I'm the baddest guy in the division. You're the dark horse. You're the guy people don't want to fight. I'm fighting you. But that's me. I don't know if that's exactly how the promotions and the managers are going to want to do that. But I like the idea of fighting the top guy and then working your way down, which he actually did at 47. He fought Jaron Ennis, and we thought he was going to come and work down, and fight the rest of those guys. But he obviously outgrew the weight class. But yeah, I mean, that Murtaza Aliyev fight, dude, that one, I'm getting excited even just putting that in my mind right now. He's big, he's strong, he's a good counterpuncher, he's a southpaw. I mean, it's a good fight, and probably the most dangerous fight of the group, even though Fundora is always dangerous. But yeah, I see him. The more I think about it, I see him tangling with all of those guys. In terms of guys who are most dangerous that don't have titles, Virgil Ortiz. Yeah. That fight is a fight that's been orbiting. They've been orbiting each other for a long time. At 47, it was supposed to happen. Then he was supposed to move up to 54, Jaron, and go right to Virgil. That fight fell through because he decided to stay at 47. But now he's back at 54, so it seems like that could be an easy fight to make. Are they going to jump right into a Virgil Ortiz fight? Probably not. But I wouldn't be mad at that either.
When you look at 47, 54 right now, this idea that if he establishes himself at 54, are we looking at one of the pound-for-pound best of this era? Should he have success? Because he has a talent. We've seen it for years. But that idea of being a titleist at 47 and a titleist at 54 right now, is that pound-for-pound king?
I've said it in the past. He certainly has the talent. If he goes up to 54 and starts collecting belts and taking the heads off these champions, now you start looking at this guy top 5 pound for pound, because the pound for pound is changing. The face of the sport is changing. We don't know how much longer we're going to see Crawford. We don't know how much longer we're going to see Alexander Usyk. Naoya Inoue, I think he's 30. What is he now? 30? So I think he's fighting until 33 or whatever. Regardless, he's got 2 or 3 years left. Jaron Ennis is not 30 yet. He's got time, and it seems like his career is just getting started. So I do think in the future we are going to be talking about him in the pound for pound range. But it really depends on how he deals with these 54-pound monsters that are out there. So a lot of good fights to be made.
Where does this leave us at 147 pounds? Of course, Brian Norman Jr. destroying Jin Sasaki. Beautiful 5th round knockout for him. But where does this leave us at 47? Is it good for the division that he's kind of left it wide open for Norman Jr. to be the man? Does it help 147, please? I
mean, until I saw Norman fight Jin Sasaki, I thought it was a bad thing that Drum was leaving, because it left a void, because the weight class is pretty weak. But I don't know. I think Brian Norman Jr. is legit, and I think he's developing at a really good rate. And I have trouble seeing anyone in that division, champions included, really giving him that much of a fight. If Conor Benn could get back to 147, I think I'd like to see that fight. I think that fight's fun. It's a big fight. It's a good money fight for Norman. Mario Barrios, I don't see him having a whole lot for that version of Brian Norman. His counterpunching is too good. His poise is good. He's too big, too. Mario Barrios is coming up from 35, 40. He's a smaller guy on the way up. Norman is in his weight class. Stanionis, who I thought would be a really good fight next for Norman after I saw what he did to Jin Sasaki. It's a lot of the same kind of style. Come forward, bang away, a little bit of fighting over your skis, and Norman knows how to fight that, obviously. You can step back and counter, and he's got the power to hurt you. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm now that I've seen Norman and what he's able to do at 47, it makes the elevation of Jaron Ennis more acceptable to me, because we still got a good guy who's at 47. He could probably be the unified champ soon.
But only 24 years old. You talk about it all the time. You haven't really filled out, got that man muscle and that man strength until your late 20s. Could we see a Brian Norman Jr. unify, move up to 54 in super fight? Is that a possibility?
I think so. I mean, you're seeing him. Like you're seeing, his physique is really filling in as just a mature, true welterweight. He looks so much bigger than Sasaki, which I didn't expect until they were in the ring. He's big. He's heavily muscled. He's thick. Not very tall. I think he's under 5'9". He's 5'8", 5'9". So 54 will be.
Stockier.
Yeah,
54,
he's a stockier 54 for sure. Like a Charles Cromwell. He's one of the shorter guys, but a lot of those guys they're 5'10", 5'11". You obviously got Fundora who's 6'7". But Murtaza Aliyev, Xander Zayas, these guys are tall. Even Vorjo Ortiz, he's a solid 5'10". So yeah, I could see him at 54 for sure. I'm probably going to see him there eventually because you said he is young, but he's not going to be a big 54 pounder. That's for sure.
Well, the future is set. It is Boots Ennis moving up to 154 pounds. Question is, how big is the fight? How many does he have before getting that title opportunity? And as it makes news, you'll see it right here on Boxing Scene Today. Tune in, find out why millions are watching.